everybody, and welcome to the Silicon Nubian YouTube channel, where we do all things tech, and we hope you enjoy what we're doing. Please don't hesitate to leave a comment or observation in the comment section below the video. In the world of Linux, there exists over, I would say, let's call it between 600 and 800 plus different Linux distributions which are out there in the wild. And if you look carefully at the top 20, you'll notice that there is a concerted effort by a number of them to differentiate themselves somehow from each other. They're top 20 for a reason. They're there, they try very hard, they're very slick, very well done. The developers are very attentive, they have an active user community, but there still is that urge, and it's quite obvious that a lot of them are trying to differentiate themselves from the rest of the pack. We have today another one of those distributions, which according to DistroWatch ratings is in the top 20. Today we're having a look at ZorinOS version 10.0. Zorin's claim to fame is presenting a Linux distribution that will facilitate or ease the transition of someone who's coming from the Windows world vis-a-vis Microsoft Windows 7, 8, 8.1, or even 10, and is moving over to the Linux world. Zorin is based on Ubuntu, and as such has the advantage of a very solid, stable, and well-maintained base. And we're going to log in right now. What you see here is the initial login window. Very nicely done, clean. This is post-install. So let's get started. After a quick login, we'll see something is apparent right away. Down at the bottom bar here, toolbar, access bar, it's very Windows 7-ish. And this is, of course, on purpose. This follows the direction that Zorin wants to go in and is very adamant about. They want to make things as familiar as possible. We're presented with the home folder, which opens up your file manager, the trash bin. We've done nothing to the default install, post-install, other than run the software updater once to make sure we're running the latest packages. So what you see here is what you'll get after the Zorin 10.0 install. We have what could be called the start menu. They call it the Zorin menu, as you see, tooltips, which has all the software in categories. And on the right side, this is a nice touch. These are all, I would probably call them quick launch section. You can get into videos. These are going to different folders in under your username. We have, of course, links to networking. We have links to system settings, which we'll go into soon. Zorin by default has Compiz installed and activated, so you'll see a lot of flash. Things will come in and out using different effects and whatnot. On a personal note, I don't think that's a really big plus. Some might like it. But depending how your bent is, what you're going to use this for, it just adds a little bit to the polish if it's not too overdone, that is. Moving to the right, we have the status icons. We're using, of course, the English language. That's for the character map and the keyboard settings. We have our network settings here enabled. VPN connections, we can go into create or log into an existing VPN connection quite easily. We have notifications here, and we have our sound. And we could quickly go to our sound settings from there. As with most Linux distributions, you'll notice that Zorin also allows you to get to different places within the OS. For example, the settings and the user places where you can tinker with the OS from many different locations within it itself. It's quite good. I like that feature, but this is not something that other Linux OSs lack. A lot of them have that. Let's dig into what Zorin gives you by default. This is in the category mode, so we have accessories, we have the font view, the password screenshot, all the normal stuff. Even some games. are present. Internet, we have the default browser, which is Firefox. You'll notice that the performance actually of Zorin is quite good, right up there with Linux Mint and Ubuntu variants. Office, OpenOffice is gone, of course. That's a long time ago. LibreOffice has taken over, even though OpenOffice, I believe, still exists. I'm very happy to see LibreOffice in the default installation of ZorinOS. It's basically gives you a shortcut to becoming productive quite quickly, and I applaud them for including it. Sound and video, Brasero Disk Burner, of course. Very well known GNOME-based disk burner software. Media player, OpenShot video editor. Great that they've included a video editor. Rhythmbox is included by default. This is good stuff. System tools, we'll see we're not overdone with a lot of different tools, and this is something I should point out quite quickly. What becomes readily apparent when you go through the included applications is the developers at Zorin do not saddle you or overburden you with 3 tools per one task. They've basically stuck to the what I consider actually the good way of doing things, is to have one good tool per task. We will see how easy it is to install other things. For example, while Firefox might be the default web browser, people might like Chromium or Midori or something else, and it's quite easy to add those software choices at your whim, as easy as it is to uninstall those that are already here or that you've put on and no longer deem useful to yourself. We're going to skip the wine for now. We're going to go to places. Of course, we have all around the system, file system. We want to get to another location on your network. Here we have the wine menu, and this is the main thing that sets Zorin apart in a way, but this is what they're all about. Not only do they want to facilitate and ease the transition of those coming from Windows, but they still want to allow them the option of running their favorite Windows compatible programs on the Linux desktop. And this is what this whole Wine section is. Wine is not an emulator. Of course, for those who don't know, Wine is a set of tools that allows Windows compatible software to run on top or within Linux. Should point out that not all software can do that, but Wine goes a long way in doing that. We also have Wine Tricks, which is extra utilities for Wine. We have Play on Linux, which is a nice front end for installing and software to run as well. So there's a lot of things here that are very, very, very good, and that's what Zorin is doing. But I must point out, okay, that all of this software is readily available to most people or most Linux distributions. What Zorin has done is to package it in a nice, simple interface as part of the OS. And I like that, because not every person coming to Linux from Windows, especially newbies, they're not going to know. They're not going to know what Wine is, what Wine can do. They may not even know how to configure it for depending on the Linux distribution that they've chosen. So by doing this, Zorin has definitely kept on track with their theme, and that's presenting a Windows-like environment to ease the transition. We'll see a few system tools that are Zorin specific. We have the Zorin Look Changer. Again, an ode to what Zorin is really trying to accomplish here, the developers at least. We can make Zorin appear more like Windows 7, Windows XP, or GNOME 2 with a click of a button. We also have the theme changer. And this is something I like. If I'm more of a red guy, I can go and everything automatically in real time changes to red. I can change that as well. I can go to green, and it's just a way to change elements within the GUI And I like very much how it's done in real time. There's no waiting, click yes to apply and coming back and then having to go dig through the menus again to change it back or change it to something else. It's done in real time. I think that's excellent. You notice on the folders, the default folders that are created for a user under their home directory, that Play on Linux virtual drives are here. Of course, Play on Linux has been installed and fully updated. Once again, that's software and configured, I should say. That is software to allow Windows applications to be executed within the Linux desktop or operating system. Another thing you'll notice is harking back to what I said before about the developers not overloading the user with applications. The very good Software Center is here. This is fantastic. I've seen this on other Ubuntu-based distributions. A central repository, if it were, or a central area for you in your OS to get, and much like an app store for the OS. For example, if I wanted to install Chrome as my default browser, I don't have it on the system. I could either type Chromium, it's called Chromium under Linux up here, or I can dig down, I can go to Internet, I can go to web browsers, and there we have Chromium web browser. It's right there. I can click on more info and get all the blurb about Chrome, total size, recommendations, developer website, whatnot. And if I really want it, I can just click install and it's done. It could not be simpler. This could not be simpler. I can also uninstall apps from within this GUI. It's a boon. Fantastic. I've seen it on other, again, Ubuntu really, distros, and I like it quite a bit. So all in all, there's really comes down to, does Zorin present enough, does it differentiate itself enough to warrant a look? For someone who's been in Linux for a while, I would have to say no, it does not. I've been in Linux a little bit long, for a decent amount of time now, and I would probably, based on Ubuntu derived releases, I would probably go for Mint or Elementary OS before I would go for Zorin, or even Netrunner, which is another good choice. This isn't to say that Zorin isn't a good distribution. I think it's a great distribution. It serves very well its intended purpose, which is, once again, to facilitate and ease the transition for someone coming from the Windows operating system into Linux. It doesn't overwhelm with too many choices in terms of software or even configuration items, which I should really show. The system settings, which you've seen again in most Ubuntu-based distributions, Linux distributions. OpenSUSE probably has YAST and YAST2. They exist quite a bit. Linux has come such a long way now that configuring your system, installing, uninstalling software, even troubleshooting to a point, does not necessitate the user to drop to a command line, although it's still there and still quite as powerful as ever. I mean, just going to system settings, and you could change your display resolution, the rotation. If you have dual monitors, it's maybe even have some more choices in there. User accounts, you have a backup software already included, which is great. I can't speak enough about preparing in advance for disaster recovery. We have a firewall that's included. Here we have the software updater for it, which will go out and see if there's any new versions of packages, kernel, and whatnot that are present. We have, if you want to add a printer, that's a pretty standard printer, add printer dialog box from most Ubuntu-based distributions that I've used, power, keyboard, Bluetooth, it's all there. It's a great OS. I have, to be honest with you, I really can't say anything really negative about it. It ships with the 3.19.0.26 generic Ubuntu SMP kernel. I'm not sure if it ships with that, but this is what, after the update, as of the posting of this video, not the most current kernel, but quite a stable one, and this is actually more important, in particular with respect to what Zorin is trying to achieve. Part of its lure is not just having people come over and wrap themselves in a familiar interface. It's also, it has to be stable. It has to be rock solid and stable. And I think in that regard, I think Zorin has done a bang-up job. I think they've really done really well. It's, from what I can tell after using it for a number of days now, it's a great distribution. And if you're coming into Linux for the first time, it's a definite must-see. Right up there with, it's not as super polished as, for example, Linux Mint or even maybe Elementary OS, but those two, between Zorin and Elementary, they're going after different, their focus or foci are different, so we can't really compare them. If we compare them on a technical standpoint, they're on equal footing, but they're going after a different kind of user. This is what I like. This is why I like Ubuntu derivatives, because Ubuntu serves as a great base, and then people can take the Ubuntu base and basically do whatever they want with it. In this case, present a Linux distribution that is most definitely welcoming to a newbie or someone coming to Linux for the first time, or even person who's been in Linux for a while and just wants a stable go-to desktop. Zorin definitely has that in spades. So we thank you again for checking us out on this little mini review of ZorinOS 10.0, and we hope you've enjoyed the video. Please leave any remarks you may have. Give us a thumbs up if you like it, and check out the links that are presented right now to our channels on Facebook and our company Facebook page as well, and our blog on Blogspot. Take care, everybody, and thanks a lot for watching the video. We hope to see you for the next one, where hopefully in the near future we'll show you I have to build a personal workstation for myself, Linux workstation, and I'm going to go through that on video. Take care, everybody. Thanks a lot.